Welcome to the Christian Life Coach Collective. I am your host, Laura Malone, and we're here to talk about life coaching, entrepreneurship, leading yourself well, and lots of spirit-led life and business strategies. So thanks for joining me on this journey, and let's jump into today's episode. Let's talk about the Proverbs 31 woman. Over 26 years of being a Christian, I like to say following Jesus. Because honestly, when I say I'm a Christian, that means a lot of things to a lot of people. And what it means to me is that I follow Jesus. I love him. I believe in him and who he proclaimed himself to be. That doesn't make me a Christian in the way everybody else defines the word. But I also think that what I've learned over the past 26 years of following Jesus with all of my heart is that as a Christian, we're still humans, no matter what we believe and who we have our hope in, right? And it means that we can use our dirty filters and broken interpreters because, they got dirty and broken. We're post-garden people. It's cultivated a lie that I learned and have been trying to untangle for people I love about this Proverbs 31 woman. They believed and taught me to believe that she was this perfect woman who did all of these things at once. That my hands should be stained purple because I'm dyeing all of the cloth I bought for my family from across the world while they're all sleeping. At the same time, I'm making fresh homemade bread for breakfast, and I use my brunch time to go to the city gates and make sure that I'm proclaiming the glory of my husband to everyone who can hear. I'm sorry. This woman is in process and gracefully allows her to be. Her name is Laura. I'm not striving for perfection, even in trying to not be perfectionistic in taking imperfect action to grow through and away from it. It's a life of allowing myself to be in process and having grace for others to be in process, and the belief that I felt projected onto me from Proverbs 31 from church and the Christian community. It did me more harm than good. And then I got some revelation. I heard someone speaking, and it was actually a man, and he was bringing truth to the room. He was bringing truth to women, and it was actually connecting with what I felt the Lord had been showing me. But Proverbs 31, this woman they're talking about, was not a real woman who did all these things. And the Bible actually says this proverb, it says by King Lemuel, and it's inspired by things his mother taught him. And some people think King Lemuel was actually King Solomon himself. Others think he might have been King Hezekiah. Others think that there's this king and the mother are two characters made up by King Solomon as like the picture of a good king and his mom, right? Whatever. I don't care. Regardless, the reality is she was not a woman who lived during biblical times, kind of like Abraham and Sarah, or the mother of Jesus, Mary. Like, this woman was not a physically alive woman. And this man who wrote this proverb, his mother, whoever she was, taught him in verses 1 to 9 to live morally, to not chase women and sexual impurity, not to be a drunk king, as many were, who would, pervert justice or act lawlessly. And she tells him what true justice is, to speak up for those who can't, for the rights of the destitute, to judge fairly and to defend the poor and needy. But then verses 10 to 31 are actually an acrostic poem, meaning that in Hebrew, every verse starts with the successive letters of the Hebrew alphabet, which obviously, if you don't understand and speak Hebrew, you are not going to see that if it's translated into English or another language. So it was put together with poetic purpose, along with guidance for what a woman of noble character can look like. And I want to tell you If you're a daughter listening today, daughter of the king, I want to tell you that you are a Proverbs 31 woman, and your past and behavior and genetic makeup, all of those things, they're not your identity. They're not how God sees you. And I want to tell you who you are and who you can be. So let's talk about how Proverbs 31 actually speaks about what's possible for you. It is not a condemning story about how you're failing. Proverbs 31 isn't about some woman who really did all these things all at once for all of her life without ever having to be in process. She wasn't fit before she went to the gym, right? Nor was there some man who wrote this and setting the high bar that you're supposed to be reaching for but failing. It's actually about who you can be and when you are called to it. Like, you can become these things if you would like to, if you're called to these things, and you can practice them and you can step into them. And it first begins by saying that her worth is higher than you can imagine. You, noble woman, you have greater worth than anything in this world can hold on to. Your worth is 100% right now, right where you are, has nothing to do with what you've done or not done. The price paid for you is greater than anything money or jewels can buy. And I want you to notice that's nothing to do with you and what you do or who you are. It has to do with the value somebody else placed on your life. Somebody else bought you. Somebody else decided how much you were worth. You didn't. His name is Jesus, and he paid with his lifeblood, not money. And he bought you regardless of who you think you are or what the world says about you. You can be a woman of noble character without being a wife or a mother. You could be a woman who people trust and honor, who feel you bring value to their lives, and you can bring good and not harm throughout your life. You can be creative and do great work. You can build bridges. You can build companies. You can build spreadsheets. You can build cakes. You can build a fort on the living room floor. It doesn't matter. You can build. You can do great things. You can be resourceful. You can be a provider of things people need. Not just your family, but like all the people you serve around you, in your ecosystem. Anybody who can hear the sound of your voice in any way, you can serve them and care for them, even if the rest of the world would consider them lower or higher than you. You can need to do what you need to do at any time, in any season, night or day, when you know it's the right time. Life is seasonal, and so are purposes and some callings. Whatever your purpose is in one season, it will shift and pivot and develop into the future seasons. And that's okay. You can buy and sell things and be an entrepreneur or work for others. And you can use the money you make to plant seeds that grow and become fruitful for the benefit and provision of many, many people. And you can work hard and you can grow strong, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually, even executively. You can trade and barter, invest, grow rich. You can be whoever you want to be, anything you want. You can have any role or position you'd like to have, because there's only one thing in this world you can't do, and it's actually not a topic for this podcast, my friends. So, you can guide, you can direct, you can lead. You can get your hands dirty in the garden or in the stock market, and you can hold the hands of dear ones who need your compassion. You can speak up for the voiceless. You can reach out to the poor and needy, the ones who are broken and know it, and the ones who are broken but keep trying to hold that vase together and pretend there's no cracks in it. You can walk in faith and take captive your thoughts and lead yourself well, so that when the storms come, you don't have fear overtaking you. And you can lead your people knowing you're covered and God's your refuge, come what may. And you can make and paint and shape and mold, and you can sew. Not just blankets and socks, but hearts and hopes and passion. You can sew truth together and then cover people with it. You can sew together the minds of both men and women who need one another to thrive, and you can sew families back together. You don't need a needle and thread. And you don't have to be a governess running through the hills. You can be an artist with your brilliant mind and your glorious soul. And you can build businesses and ministries and nonprofits and sell and share things that the world needs. You can be a supplier of all of the world's needs based on what you want to do and create. And you can find the gold inside of you, polish what's already shining, instead of beating yourself down and agreeing with the world that what you are is not enough, or it's too much, or, you know, you don't have to agree. You can be who you're called to be, who God says you are. You can make policies. You can govern and defend and intercede for the good of others. Want to be a politician? You can. You can do it the way you're made to do it. You can clothe yourself with strength and dignity and laugh at the mud that the world is throwing on you and giggle when the devil uses his magic marker to smear pain all over you. You can reveal the masterpiece you already are the way that it looks now, and you can be healed and heal others with that story. And you can hear God and walk with Him and release wisdom and revelation. You can prophesy when you speak. You can teach the world around you the truth, and you can influence and give permission and spread joy. And you can care for the men in your life, no matter who they are, how they act, how they handle or mishandle power in their own lives. You can be the woman who arises in her own true power, knowing that it comes from within, and you can be an example to the boys and the men and the women around you. And you can stay on track and do important work, but also care for yourself and follow through with intention about taking care of who you are as a daughter. You can be a mother, whether you have given birth physically or not, and you can show people, all of the children around you, all the people you can influence. You can show them how to live a righteous life. And you can fear the Lord all of your days and be blessed. And that doesn't mean to be afraid and cower before Him. It means to be friends with Him and to honor Him, to know that He loves you so much that what's in His heart for you is always for the good of your life. His heart towards you is empowering you. He is the true power behind the power you operate in. And He's chosen you. And because you know this, you can have this reverential fear, awe, and wonder of His true power flowing through you. And knowing that His ways are higher than ours, His thoughts are higher than ours, trusting His ways and His thoughts to lead you. And then, when they honor you, you can accept thanks and honor when it's given to you without shying away from it or dumbing it down or shoo-shooing it away or saying it's all because of God. You can humbly accept it and leave the false humility and the pride behind you and say, yes, I did co-create this life with God, and with Him, I humbly accept the grace and the favor and gratitude that the world would offer me because of what I was able to do alongside of Him. You can decide that you're enough, you're to be delighted in, even by yourself. You are capable, you have capacity, you're beautiful, you're wanted, you're chosen, you're worthy, you're noble, and you can walk in true power and co-create your story with your Heavenly Father. I believe the reason for the Proverbs 31 woman to be referred to as a wife is because it's about the overcoming, virtuous bride of Christ who's full of grace. And therefore, it would stand to mean that all of this about this woman applies to what every woman and every man can be and do. Wherever it speaks of her husband, you could read that as the bridegroom, Jesus Christ, and she is the bride of Christ. So ultimately, this proverb is actually for all of us, male and female, that we're all called to walk righteously with our God and Creator, and that we are the bride of Christ, equal to, but different from one another. And what joy is found in that is actually a call to delight and purpose and identity, passion, connection, truth, and a relationship with a good and loving God. So when it says her husband is being praised at the city gates everywhere, think about Jesus being proclaimed and praised in all of the nations. So as a woman, all of this is possible. You just need the clarity about who you are as a daughter and as a woman, and that you don't have to fight or struggle or stay in the back room or behind a desk or stay barefoot. You can take pride in what you do and how you do it. And you can do it at the same time you're a wife and a mom. And know your dad made you to do these things, and He's calling you to rise up and come alive, but to walk in true power, no matter what your role is, no matter what season you're in, no matter where you came from. And how to do it all, well, that's figure outable. Hey friends, don't forget to jump into the Christian Life Coach Collective Facebook group if you haven't already, so you can connect with like-directed people and get free resources and ask for feedback, all the things that are going to help support you on your calling as a coach. I hope to see you in there, and don't forget to subscribe to the show.